In 2026, if you are learning accessibility the way most people do, you are being trained to fail. Not because accessibility is difficult, but because most learning paths start in the wrong place. They start with tools, certifications, checklists, but they completely skip the one critical thing that determines whether you will last. Why are you really here? Is accessibility just another tech job? Or are you here because you have seen what exclusion actually does to people? Accessibility is not a nice to have skill. It is a long-term resistance job. You will hear, we will fix it later. This isn't in scope. Accessibility costs too much. If your motivation is only money, you won't survive that pressure. But if your motivation is impact, you will. Accessibility isn't about fixing websites. It's about fixing exclusion. Hi, I'm Param Singh, a certified accessibility professional, and I have invested years building and testing real accessible products. And if I were starting again, the first thing I would unlearn is the idea that disability is rare. Disability is a spectrum and is categorized in 3 buckets: permanent, temporary, and situational. Most people don't become disabled. They collide with poorly designed systems. That's why understanding the models of disability matters. The medical model says the person is the problem. It focuses on the limitations of the human body. The social model says the environment is the problem. Digital accessibility exists because of that second idea. You're not fixing users, you're fixing environments that failed them. This mindset will shape every decision you make later. Here's the mistake I see beginners make all the time. They treat assistive technology as an edge case. For millions of people, assistive technology is the interface. Screen readers, keyboards, zoom, high contrast, speech input, they are all critical. Let me give you a real scenario. A page passes every automated test and has 0 XDevTool issues. But try navigating it with only a keyboard. If you can't reach the submit button, that page is functionally useless. A rule I would live by: if you don't know how users navigate, you don't know accessibility. Most people treat WCAG like a rule book. I would treat it like a translation layer. WCAG tells you what breaks users at a technical level. Laws like ADA, Section 508, or European Union regulations do something else. They enforce consequences. Different purpose and different role. The hard truth is, compliance is the minimum required to not get sued. Usability is what actually helps people. If you optimize only for compliance, you will ship experiences that still fail users. This is where I would go all in. Frameworks come and go. AI agents will write components. Libraries will change. But everything still renders to one thing: HTML. If I were starting again, I would learn HTML deeply. Native semantics, landmarks, buttons versus links, forms, tables. And I would test HTML the way real users do. With the mouse, with the keyboard, with a screen reader. Because no amount of React knowledge fixes broken HTML. I would not try to become a designer, but I would understand impact. Because CSS controls your readability, focus visibility, zoom behavior, reflow, and contrast. Because I have seen outline none wipe out keyboard accessibility across an entire product. And you don't need mastery, you just need awareness. This is where most people go wrong. I would not memorize WCAG. I would learn the intent of each success criteria, who it helps and when it does not. And then I'll dig deeper into ARIA. ARIA is powerful and dangerous. I have reviewed products where ARIA overrode native semantics, confused screen readers, made things worse. I would master when to use it, when not to use it. How bad ARIA actively makes things worse. Just remember, no ARIA is better than bad ARIA. Tools don't make you an expert. Interpretation does. I would learn free tools deeply to catch the obvious stuff and perform my famous litmus test. If a simple login page has 5 or more automated issues, accessibility was never considered. Automated plugins gives you a good start, but manual checks with keyboard and a screen reader dig deeper into the actual human experience. And this is the point where real professionals separate from a checklist testers. Checklist testing is about asking, did it pass? Professional testing asks, can someone actually use this? That's why I would master keyboard only testing, because if you can't reach it, you can't use it. Screen reader testing, because that's how millions experience the web. Multiple assistive technology combinations, because one setup never tells the full story. Real navigation patterns, not ideal paths, but how people actually move through a page. Passing all the WCAG success criteria does not mean passing reality. You're not testing success criteria, you're testing real human experience. And that shift from rules to humans is what turns testing into a profession. If you could adopt only one rule from this video, it would be practicing beats certifications. Test one page a day every day for the next 45 days. Log what's broken, why it matters, and how to fix that issue. This will build your muscle memory faster than any certification ever will. Certifications don't replace skill, but they do signal credibility. I'll follow this order if I were starting again. CPAC for concepts plus credibility, DHS trusted tester for solid foundation, and finally WS after 3 years of gaining in-depth knowledge. Certification support experience, not the other way around. Here's the 2026 hiring reality. Specialists get hired, generalists struggle. I would pick one: web accessibility tester, document accessibility tester, or mobile accessibility tester. So rather than becoming jack of all trades, master just one. You don't need to become an influencer, and you don't need to be loud. Most testers and developers are not trained to talk about their work. We are trained to do the work. But visibility isn't about showing off. It's about making your thinking visible. And that can be as simple as a thoughtful LinkedIn post explaining why something failed, a meaningful comment in an accessibility discussion forum, sharing your perspective. You're not chasing fame, you're building your own brand. And when recruiters look at your profile, they get the confidence they are looking for. They don't want WCAG robots. They want people who can explain failures clearly, test like real users, collaborate with developers, and improve overall usability. Accessibility is not easy. It's not glamorous. It's not fast. But it changes life. If I were starting accessibility in 2026, I wouldn't chase tools. I would chase understanding, because inclusive systems outlast every framework.